Hey everybody, welcome. All right, my name is Ben and I am here for a live IELTS Q&A. You can ask me any question that you want about the IELTS and I will give you the answer if I can. All right, I see 3 people are watching so far. If you're watching right now, what would really help me is if you share this video on your timeline, or even better, share this video in another IELTS group that you are a part of. I try to give these lessons 3-4 times a week on our channel IELTS For All. And the more people that I can reach, the more motivation that I have to keep giving good quality lessons for you absolutely free. Okay? For those of you who do not know my page, or maybe you're watching on YouTube or some other channel, the live lessons are all held in a Facebook group called IELTS For All. And if you're watching live, you are definitely a member. But if you're not watching live, go over to Facebook and search for IELTS For All and join our group, okay? The video courses, I've got a writing course up right now, some new additions coming soon over at IELTSLessons4U.com. And the lesson archives can be found down on that Google link, which is actually YouTube. Okay? So go check it out. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go check it out right now. The reason that the link is so strange is because we don't have enough subscribers yet to have our own kind of branded YouTube link. So I just need a few more subscribers and then we can change that Google link to something that looks a little bit nicer. Okay? So just to support these free lessons, please go and check that out. And of course, share this video far and wide. Now, we've only got one thing on the agenda for today, and that is Q&A. Any question you want answered, I'm ready for it, okay? So, here we go. Let's see. I was trying to think of some questions that people have asked me recently. I am often asked which books I recommend, and I don't really have a good answer for that. There are a ton of IELTS books. A lot of what I recommend has to do with what is available. So go to your local bookstore, spend 20 minutes looking through the options, and find a book that suits your purposes. Some books have more examples in them. Okay, so if you're looking for examples of task 2 essays or task 1 essays or some speaking examples, choose a book that focuses more on examples. If you need more step-by-step instruction, focus on books that offer step-by-step instruction instead. Okay, there is no one answer to that question of which book is the best. So I recommend finding a book that suits you well. In terms of writing, if you do need a step-by-step instruction, look no further than my writing video course, which you can find on my website. Just send me a message on Facebook and I'll give you all the details for that. Okay, let's see. I would like to ask some questions. How do I do? I would like to speak fluently. Very good question. How to improve your fluency? It's not easy. It takes time and it takes a lot of hard work and practice. Okay. My suggestion is to take out your phone. I don't have my phone with me right now, but take out your phone and record yourself. Okay. And what you want to do is count how many words you are saying per minute. Okay? So take a part 3 question, for example. Okay, one of the questions I was working on recently is, are children's personalities similar to their parents' personalities? Okay? So, take some notes on some ideas for that question. All right? Set your timer and press start try to speak for 2 minutes about that topic, and then stop. Okay? Then set your timer again, press start, and say the same ideas, the same content, but faster. Okay? Now that they are kind of strongly or firmly in your mind, you should be able to speak them a little bit faster the second time. Okay? And then stop, and then start again, a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster. Improving your fluency, it's more like training. It has nothing to do with knowledge. There is no kind of knowledge that I can give you that will improve your fluency. What it takes is practice. Okay, practice saying the same thing a little bit faster each time. The more you do that kind of practice, the better you will get with fluency. But it's a long struggle. Okay, if you're looking for a quick answer, you're not going to find it for fluency. Okay, there's a few skills that take practice, practice, practice. Fluency is one of them. Okay? It's often the hardest advice that I have to give is when people want an answer that will solve their problems. When often what I can offer is an answer that will help you solve your problems. Okay? Listening is another one where really to improve your listening, you just need to do a lot of practice. There is not a whole lot of knowledge I can give you to improve your listening skill. I can give you a lot of knowledge about how the IELTS listening exam works, but once you know how it works, there's no more knowledge that I can give you that will improve your skills. Okay, it just takes practice, practice, practice. Nobody likes to hear that answer, but that's the truth, to be honest. Shay says, how many hours do I have to listen to English news for a day in order to understand? Well, that's a really good question. Counting the number of hours, that has been a pretty popular technique for measuring the amount of practice. There was a really famous book called something like 10,000 Hours to Mastery. I don't remember the name of the book exactly, but something about the number of hours that you work. I don't think the number of hours is a good measure of the amount of practice, because what you need is something called intensive practice, where you are actually intensively listening. So turning on the English news, right, does not actually do very much for you unless you are intensively listening. Okay? So, as far as how many hours do you have to listen? A day? As much as you can. But putting on the English news for 4 hours while you, I don't know, chat with your friends, or while you use the internet, or while you cook, it's not really going to help you. You need to be giving 100% concentration. It is better to spend 30 minutes with focused listening practice than spending 5 hours of just having English news on in the background. Okay? And I'm kind of dodging your question because the number of hours is not that important. The amount of intensive listening, that's the key. Let's see, Takya, good sentences. What is its characteristics? What is a good sentence? Well, you need a subject and a verb, okay? Every sentence needs one subject and one verb at the minimum, okay? So that is a simple sentence. For example, I walk to school. That is a simple sentence, all right? Now, if you have the ability to write a little bit more complicated sentence, you can try for a compound sentence. And a compound sentence has 2 subjects and 2 verbs, okay? And it is connected with a very simple connector like and or but. For example, I walk to school and buy some coffee. I walk to school and I buy some coffee. I walk, I buy. And we connect them with and. So that is a compound sentence. Think of that as like a level 2 sentence. Okay, level 1, I walk to school. Level 2, I walk to school and I buy a coffee. Now a level 3 sentence is called a complex sentence. And if you want anything above a 4 or 5 on the IELTS, you need to practice your complex sentences as much as possible. Complex sentences use connecting words that show a more complicated relationship between the ideas. So for example, I walk to school when the sun comes up. I walk to school when the sun comes up. I walk, the sun comes. 2 subjects, 2 verbs, right? And the word that I'm connecting them with is when. When shows a time relationship between the 2 ideas. Okay? So words like when, while, if, although, or even though. Let's see, what are some other ones? Those are kind of the main ones off the top of my head. There's hundreds of these words. These are called subordinating conjunctions, but they connect 2 ideas in a complex way. Those are the kind of sentences that you want in order to get a higher score for your grammar. Okay? So I would suggest practicing using those complex sentences as much as you can. All right? Alvier says, how can I improve my cue card in speaking level of IELTS? Great question. How to improve? What you're talking about is part 2 of the IELTS speaking section. I'm going to give you 2 pieces of advice. The first advice is for people who want to get a 5 or a 6. Okay? If you want to get a 5 or a 6, the goal is consistency. Okay? You don't need to use really high-level vocabulary. Okay? You don't need to use really complicated grammar or a wide variety of grammar. Okay? Focus on making your ideas clear. Okay? Clear and consistent. All right? When you're describing a person, don't try to study 100 vocabulary words for describing people. It's not going to be helpful to you when your aim is a 5 or a 6. Okay? Focus on clarity. Keep things simple. Okay? If you can speak in a way that the examiner understands, you're probably going to get at least a 5. Okay? So that should be your goal. If you want a 5, maybe even a 6, keep things simple. If you're looking for a 7, or a 6.5, or a 7, or 7.5, or an 8, you need a much more careful approach, okay? A much more strategic approach. Because what the examiner wants to see, and task 2 gives you a great opportunity to show off your variety in terms of grammar and in terms of vocabulary. Okay? Task 2 is an opportunity. And to go into the full strategy, it's not easy to do in a spoken way, but I'm coming out with my speaking course soon, which outlines that. But for example, if task 2, if the topic card asks you to describe a time when someone made you laugh, this is an experience type, right? What you don't want is to stay in the past tense the whole time. Okay? The cue card seems to tell you just describe your experience. Speak in the past tense. It's not really enough to score really high on task 2 or on part 2. Okay? So don't just tell the story. Okay? You need to find a way to tell the story and then connect it to something in the present, something in the future. Talk about your personality. Okay? So something that made me laugh. My friend told me a funny joke. Describe your personality and your friend's personality, how you guys are different from each other, and why he has the kind of personality that makes you laugh. Going into that deeper level, that is what is going to give you a better score. Another example, if you are asked to describe a place or an object, for example, the cue card might ask you to describe a garden that you visited recently. Do not spend 2 minutes talking about the color of the grass, and there are many flowers, and there are many people, and there is a walking path. 2 minutes spent just describing a place or describing an object, you're not showing your variety. You're not taking that opportunity to show all of the different kinds of language that you can produce. So if you're trying to get a 6.5 or a 7 or a 7.5 or an 8, you need to develop a strategy, and this is what I do with my one-to-one students. We develop a strategy to show more of a variety of language use. Okay? Now, oh boy, this question is very complex. Another way that I would like to answer this question is, it depends on how much time you have. If you only have a few weeks to prepare, what you need to do is develop a strategy to take notes on your ideas and on some vocabulary words, and use those notes to speak for 2 minutes. If you have 4 weeks, or a couple of months, or 6 months to prepare, what you need is to start with a big list of Part 2 topics and develop your answers for each question. It takes a long time, but it's not only for Part 2. Okay, so when you develop a really strong response to a specific Part 2 question, all of those phrases and vocabulary words and grammar patterns that you learn and strengthen while you're developing that response, all of those words, phrases, vocabulary, grammar, all of that can be used in other areas, okay? In Part 3, in Part 1, okay? So it is definitely worth it to develop specific responses to specific Part 2 questions if you have the time. I'm working one-on-one with a student right now. Actually, I'll be posting a sample from one of her one-to-one lessons just later tonight. And what we're doing is taking a list of more than 70 different Part 2 topics, and we're going through 5 topics every day. Okay? 5 topics every day. She develops her ideas, she speaks them to me, I give her correction and advice on vocabulary, and she practices again and again based on my advice. Okay? So if you have an instructor, or you can use me, just send me a message and we'll set up some lessons. If you have a way to practice one-to-one with an instructor, that is the perfect way, the most successful way to practice Part 2. Okay? Come up with a list and practice individual topics in individual ways. Only 1 month left. I still think there is a place for preparing specific topics, especially talking about a specific person. So think about the people in your life that are important to you. Okay, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a best friend, maybe it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend. If you can describe that person with a lot of detail, describing their personality, their character, your relationship, why you like each other, why you don't like each other, right? What you disagree about, okay? What you talk about when you're together, the common interests that you share, okay? All of those things come up while preparing part two, okay? So if you prepare a great part two response about your grandmother, you're going to be able to use that response for a bunch of different part two questions, okay? Describe a family member that makes you proud, right? Describe a family member that you are close to, okay? Describe a family member that you spend a lot of time with. Describe your best friend. Describe someone who makes you laugh. Your grandmother. You can work for every one of those. You can use your grandmother. Okay? So by preparing a part two response about a specific person or even a specific place, you can use that material for a variety of different topics. Okay? So I don't know, a lot of students say that it seems like a waste of time to prepare one specific response to one part two question. I totally disagree, okay? Because all of that content is usable in other areas, okay? A lot of part three questions, you can talk about your relationships, people that you know, right? People that are close to you, okay? Talking about the difference between the older generation and the younger generation. Using your grandmother as an example, right? If you can talk fluently and accurately about someone, it's reusable in a lot of situations, okay? Phew! A long question, or a simple question with a very complicated response. So to sum up, for lower level students, focus on clarity. For upper level students, focus on developing a strategy to show a variety of language use, okay? And if you have a limited amount of time, focus on how to take your notes and speak for 2 minutes about them, okay? Practice that process. And if you have a lot of time, or maybe a month or more, work on individual responses to individual part two questions. Great question. A difficult answer, but I think I got it covered. All right, yeah, and if you are looking for a one-to-one teacher, just send me a message and I'll let you know what my kind of payment process is like. I don't have that much time in my schedule at the moment, but I think I have time for maybe one or two more private students if you kind of need some urgent help. Okay, Marvin has a good question. Marvin says, can you help me with my anxiety when speaking and time management when working on academic writing? Time management probably in all categories. Yeah, well, time management, my number one tip is to always practice with a timer. All right? If it gives you a lot of anxiety right now to write an essay within 40 minutes, give yourself 5 extra minutes for now, okay? 45 minutes. And do a couple of essays with 45-minute time period, and then reduce it to 44 minutes for a couple, and then 43, and then 42, until you are down to that ideal 40-minute period. Okay, so if time management is making you anxious, give yourself a little more space while you practice for now, until you feel more comfortable. Okay? Anxiety when speaking. This is going to sound obvious, but practice. Okay? Practice. Find a speaking partner that you can practice with. If you want one, you can always post a request in the Facebook group. And of course, the more practice you can do with a native speaker, the better. Okay? What you want is a native speaker or an instructor who can simulate test conditions, who can pretend to be the examiner while you are the examinee. Okay? If you can start to feel comfortable in that relationship, that examiner-examinee relationship, that will ease a lot of your anxiety when you go in there. Okay? Another thing is to just change your change your mindset a little bit when it comes to the speaking. The way you should look at part 2 and part 3 is every question is an opportunity for you to show your skills. If you are not confident in your skills, at least you should be confident in your approach. Okay? So if you don't have a strategy for part 2, if you don't have a strategy for part 3, that could be the root of a lot of your anxiety. Okay? This is why I'm working hard to publish my speaking course. Right now I have only my writing course published, but my speaking course should be coming soon, I hope next week. And that will give you those strategies that you need. How to extend your answers in a natural way, right? How to speak for 2 minutes while giving a variety of language use. When you have strategies, you can feel like every question is a chance for you to apply your strategy. If you don't have a strategy, you have a lot of fear because you don't have a clear idea of what you're doing. Okay? So develop strategies, and I'll try to get my course published as soon as possible. Okay? Marilu Hernandez asks, can I get a low score if I use some British words and most of the time I speak with an American accent? No, that's fine. There's no penalty for kind of mixing accents. As long as you are understood clearly by the examiner, I wouldn't spend any time worrying about that. Okay? Yeah, that's not a question you really need to worry about. Just focus on keep improving your vocabulary, work on polishing your grammar, learn some good native sounding phrases. Yeah, good question, Marlu, but I wouldn't worry about it. Jail says, I have problems in reading section with headings. What could you advise? Great question, and I think it's probably time that I return to that topic in my lessons. If you look in the IELTS for All videos, so open up our group, IELTS for All. On the left side, you will see a tab called Videos. Click there, and then scroll down a little bit. You will see, I think I've given 2 live lessons on matching headings strategy. Okay? The strategy you need for matching headings, totally different from other question types. All right? It's a little bit hard to summarize here and now, so I'll just suggest go to the Facebook group and search for that lesson so that you can see that. I will try, not this next week, but perhaps the week after that, I'll try to publish another live video on that topic. All right, you guys. Well, tell you what, it is 12:30 a.m. right now, and I have a feeling that my neighbors might be wondering when I'm going to stop this lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our Q&A here for now. If you joined a little bit late, my advice is open up the IELTS for All page, okay? Open up the IELTS for All group that all of you are members of, I assume. And if you're not a member, you should go and join right now. Just search for IELTS for All on Facebook. And click on the Events tab on the left side. Okay, when you click there, you'll see the calendar of events that we have. So if you find yourself always joining halfway through the lesson so that you miss most of what happened, go to that calendar and just click Going on all of those events. Even if you can't come, it's fine. Click Going so that you receive a notification on your phone. Okay? When you click kind of Going or Attending on the event, you should receive an automatic notification for that. Either that or just add it to your calendar on your phone, or add a little alarm or something like that. Yeah, we started this lesson with just 3 or 4 people. Now there's 10. I hate to stop when there's so many people watching, but yeah, as I said, it's quite late here. So, yes, Marvin. Yeah, try to not worry about the examiner too much. Okay, A lot of times when examiners seem intimidating, they're actually not scoring in an intimidating way. If they seem really friendly, they might be scoring really strictly. So, yeah, try not to be affected by the mood of the examiner, okay? It really doesn't indicate how well you are doing at all. Remember, these examiners, they see 100 people a day. Their mood is going to go up and down as they go, so don't let them affect you at all, okay? Just focus on your performance. All right, guys, well, just a final thing, I'll just point you to the links for more content. Of course, if you're already a member of IELTS For All, you know about this already, but if you're not, go and join. Search on Facebook, IELTS For All, and join our group. My video courses, I mentioned my writing course, but I'll have a speaking course available soon, IELTSLessonsForYou.com. And the lesson archives are down there on that Google link. All right, guys, well, stay tuned for the next lesson, which is tomorrow at the same time. All right, until then, see you later. Have a great night.